Hello, good morning. This is Our Mornings, and it is Thursday morning. My goodness, time flies. And it is the 3rd of April. And of course, everybody is up in arms about Donald Trump's tariffs. But I'm going to be putting the cat amongst the pigeons because I'm going to look at it from a different perspective, where I think that Donald Trump's tariffs are very fair for us in the UK. It's unfortunate for certain reasons why I think that our government is adding a VAT tax, which makes it more expensive than the tariff costs alone. But I'm sure there are people out there who are going to think otherwise. All I can hear and see on our televisions in the UK and our radio stations is that they're up in arms about Donald Trump's new tariffs, and yet he's been, I think, very fair. But we can up for discussion. My wife, dear wife, is...
The discussion started about 8 o'clock this morning, just trying to understand the whole thing. And Joe, our producer, had the great idea of asking AI, that seems to have far more knowledge than any one of us put together.
Yes.
But
it is confusing, isn't it?
It's really confusing, and I don't even feel as if I'm authorised to even discuss it because I haven't got all my ducks in a row yet, and nor have you.
Oh, thank you,
You
darling.
think you have, but
I think I have. Yeah,
but you haven't.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see, darling. But I mean, this is it. We're going to be looking at the tariffs as well and other bits in the news, but they're all so anti-Trump. But I wonder if it's because basically that particular president at the moment is looking at things, and his T.D. Vance is actually a Christian, and Christians look at things a little bit differently because we're not so anti Donald Trump. When you look at his past, I know he has a past, and it seems a bit of a miracle that he should have this sort of born again sort of experience, because he said that God saved him through that attempted shooting there.
Attempted murder.
Yeah. But anyway, the thing is that what we're going to do with all the news that's out there, we're going to pick the bones out of it and look at it from a Christian perspective and a fair point of view, because I think that our government is responsible for hiking the prices up of goods that are being imported, because they're adding value-added tax, and I'm calling it vulture-added tax. We've got a little thing that I put together last night with the help of our producer, and that's what it stands for. It seems that our government is just being a bit greedy, and if you think otherwise, do let me know, because what we want to find out in discussing, why is our value-added tax so high? When you look at it from the American point of view, Lesley, their sales tax is at the highest, which is California, is 8%.
When we lived in Florida, it was always 5%. I don't know what it is.
Yes, well, that was in Florida, but it varies from state to state. But the thing is that our country, for similar tax, we call it value-added tax over here, but they're called sales tax. It used to be 8%, but it's now gone up over the years to 20%. But our government is charging at the point of entry for American goods to come in to the UK on top of the tariff, which is 10% or thereabouts, because it's going to vary according to the different, if you like, products or if you like, services coming from the States. But you're adding not only the particular tariff, but you're adding the VAT, which I think is outrageous, and our government shouldn't be doing that. But I think we found favour as far as being out of, and we're making that Brexit, we're out of Europe. Donald Trump appreciated that and showed that by making Europe, those in the European Union, pay a 20% tariff as a starting point.
Actually, let me ask you this.
Sure.
Seeing as you're the expert.
No, I'm not an expert, but I think I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, and I think hopefully we'll get there.
So let me just ask you this question.
Yeah.
What is the percentage of tariffs? What do we charge the USA?
We don't charge the USA. It's what USA charges us.
So if
I mean, it's a 10% tariff. That's it. And there might be a small, if you like, 5%, which is to do with the import duties, right?
What I'm asking is, he's introduced a 10% tariff.
Yeah, if you put that chart up, if you can do that, put the chart up just so we can see. Let's have a look at that first, darling. Just see there. You see it's in red, United Kingdom. The tariffs charged to the US.
Oh, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Is 10%, and the US reciprocal. So it's the same.
Yes, exactly.
So it's now it's the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And I thought that's very fair. When you look at, you go back to that chart a second, if you go to China, which is the worst, you know, the tariffs charged to the US goods going into China, they charge 67%. Now, that's outrageous. But Donald Trump didn't come tit for tat there. He said, I'm going to charge 34% input so those goods that arrive.
They need those goods.
No, it's not that they need them. He's still being very fair. It's got nothing to do with they need it. He's not playing tit for tat. He's not going to charge China 67% for importing goods to America. He said, I'm going to charge 34%. It's the top of your list there.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So your question, we're already having a debate here.
The debate, you should have seen the debate in the office.
But people just couldn't get their head round why are we so upset? Because it is the person.
Well, we were kind of led to believe in the office that nothing had changed without tariffs, and then once we realised that things have changed, that there's a blanket 10%, then we kind of started to understand things.
Right, but the thing is, the way it's been happening, there's been different tariffs for different goods, different services.
There still will be.
There probably will be.
Cars, 25%.
Yeah.
But there's a blanket 10%, so nothing is zero.
No, exactly. It's tit for tat, like for like. Okay? But the only disadvantage for us is the fact that our government is greedy by adding the VAT at the point of entry on top of the tariff. Okay?
Right.
Right? So if you want to have a go, not just at the Labour Party, but any government. And if you look at it right in the beginning, in 1973, I think it was, when we got rid of sales tax, we ended up with VAT, value added tax. BS. It's not any value added whatsoever. It's just a tax. But it means that every time, let's take it, for example, the sales tax, you paid one time only. The first time a person bought, say, a dining table or a handbag or whatever, they paid 33% for the highest tax one time, and it never got repeated. So if you sold that bag on and on and on and on, or whatever you did with it, there was no more tax. But we came up with value added tax, or the European Union did, or whatever, and we ended up with 8% on average. But we greedily have added more and more tax to that particular way of the government's benefiting, to the point we're at today, 20%. I think Europe is 21%. I think. Yeah? And that is ridiculous, because every time that changes hands, those goods, or the services, you're adding that. Now, most of us who are in business can actually claim that VAT back, okay? Yeah. But the end person who really suffers is the average Joe consumer in the street, because they can't get that back, okay? Yeah. And small businesses, if they're earning less than 87,000 a year or whatever, can't even get the tax or doesn't have to apply it. But once you get over that threshold, you end up falling into, even if it's like 90,000 or whatever it's going to be reset at, you're ending up having to charge your few customers VAT. Yeah, it's a horrible tax. I think it's wrong. Now, going back, we lived in America for nearly a decade, and the sales tax in Florida, if we bought things for the music studio, was only 8%. But if we bought that same product from another state, say like California or whatever, you were exempt the whole lot of sales tax. It's quite interesting. So whichever if had the lowest sales tax, you would end up buying your goods from that state, say Washington or New York or whatever. I used to do a lot of business with Manny's in New York because it was completely sales tax free.
Yeah.
So very, very different. But America has not got greedy over the years, or the governments have not got greedy, because they've not increased from 8% or whatever it was we were paying at that time in the 80s to today, where it's still about the same sort of thing. But here, the European Union, and including the UK now, keeps that value-added tax at 20%. It's a horrible tax. So if the government didn't charge that, then we would just be paying the tariff.
Right. Okay, so before we have a look at the newspaper headlines, and I really do want you to join in, because I'm still trying to make sense of the big picture. So I've got one here from George, who says Donald Trump should just leave European countries alone with this tariff. He has no right to do that. But
it's been fair.
But the thing is, would we say that the European countries should not be charging a tariff to the USA? And I'm just having a quick look here to see if it says it. The European Union. So the European Union are charging 39% to the USA. And now the USA will be...
Not charging it to USA. The USA is sending it. They're charging to the customers that are going to be buying that goods. That's us, inside the UK and inside European Union. It's not that America is paying that. It's our governments that are actually being greedy, if I can put it into simple terms.
And so that's how much the European countries, the European Union, the tariffs charged to the US.
Yeah.
39%.
No. But when you add the VAT, it is 39% on top. Yeah.
Coming in.
Yeah.
I'm talking about going out.
Going out to America. America doesn't charge so much on the import duties.
Anyway, right. I'm still not there.
The other thing I'd like to add as well, when we lived there in Florida, the actual income tax was, I don't think there was income tax in Florida, but what there was is a state tax. You end up with far more money in your hard-earned income at the end of the day by living in America than we do here in the UK. And that's why at the moment you've got lots of very well-off people now moving out of the UK because of if you like, the Labour Party's, taxes and everything. So we're committing hara-kiri or suicide. We deserve everything we get because of our greed and our stupid tax regimes.
Oh dear. Debbie says, is it not the fact that America thinks it has been taken advantage of by trading partners?
Absolutely.
And they want to change this now. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But everybody's having a go at Trump because they're all woke people out there that want to have a go at Trump because they don't like him or T.D. Vance.
Do you know, Howard?
Yes, ma'am.
What I can't find on all of these tariffs, we've got lists and lists and lists.
Yeah.
Where are the tariffs that they're charging to Russia?
That's a good point. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Joe can actually do a little bit of research and see why
Paul and
Russia.
Ruth,
I think it's because they've actually been, you're not allowed to trade. They've got these not exemptions, what do you call it?
Trade bans.
Yeah.
Paul and Ruth say it appears that President Trump has not placed any tariffs on Russia. Why?
Because they're not allowed to trade.
Maybe there's no trade between
they're not allowed
US
to trade
and Russia.
Yeah.
Also
embargoes, is it called, or something? Yeah.
Also interestingly, Hoover, the company.
Clean up, weren't they? Sorry.
Oh no, actually no. Hoover created a stock market crash which caused the Great Depression in 1929. It
J.
looks,
Edgar Hoover.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
That's
fine.
right. Yeah, it looks as if the stock market is already having an impact. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it will.
Yeah.
Because we are so greedy over here in this part of the world. I can't say it any clearer, because of this value-added tax. It doesn't add any value at all to the goods. It just costs more. The people that are getting it is the people in power to run all their mates and have all sorts of things going on, so they need that money. They're greedy.
Okay, so let's have a look at the newspaper headlines before the programme is over. You're going to start.
Okay, well, me? Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
What's your
darling.
list?
It's the way I walk. Sorry,
Right,
darling. Okay, go. This Daily Mail, okay. And it got here, Brexit, Britain is... It's all right, darling, you can switch your phone off if you want to, you know, just to make sure that it doesn't interfere with the live programme.
That's fine.
Okay, all right, Punch and Judy Show, part 2. Brexit, Britain is hit with 10% export tariffs. Okay, these are the headlines, don't comment on them. But the EU hammered with 20% levy by the US. Hallelujah. You know, this is one thing that Brexit has actually helped us to achieve. And Donald Trump and his party actually have been very kind towards us, I think, you know. But of course the rest of the country doesn't agree, because they're very anti-Donald Trump. But then it says here, Trump's tariff war on foreign scavengers. I think that is probably right in a way, but it says Donald Trump triggered a global trade war last night with Britain, among the countries hit by a blizzard of damaging new tariffs. And in a bombshell yet often rambling announcement, the US president said he was pressing ahead immediately with new levies on all imports on what he dubbed as Liberation Day. And that's the headline of the Daily Mail.
Before I go to the headline of the Express, I've got some information from our producer.
Oh, good.
That there's already enough according to Trump, there's already enough sanctions on Russia and there was no need to increase them.
There you go.
So according to, yeah.
I think I was correct then, was I?
No, we said there's no trading.
Well, they said they're all the sanctions, embargoes, or whatever it is you want to call it. Yes, sanctions is the correct word.
Okay, let's have a look at the front page of the Daily Express. Brexit, Britain escapes the worst of Trump tariffs pain. So,
amen.
That's very much the same as most of the papers. Yeah, go on.
Okay, the Times headline: Trump piles on the tariffs. British imports hit with baseline of 10% levy, and says EU faces 20%, and the new charges start to apply from Saturday, this Saturday coming. So a couple of days' time, you will see it all kick in.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, can I just say one other little thing? It's saying here, President Trump signed an executive order for tariffs in the White House, in the Rose Garden, and it says having listed at the upsetting crimes and vicious attacks by US trade partners.
Okay, let's have a look at the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Once again, Trump unleashes tariffs. Britain will face a 10% levies as President brings in sweeping reciprocal trade measures. And then a bit further down, Prime Minister's law chief makes veiled dig at boss over attack on judges. Okay.
And The Guardian, it's saying here, well, first of all, we'll talk about, right at the very top of the page there, Top Gun wingman for Tom Cruise in that famous film, Top Gun. Is very sad that Val Kilmer passed away this week, and he's been on the news actually for 3 days running. You know, it seemed that he had a very good career as an actor and as a person. Seemed a very nice person apparently, and sadly he passed away from throat cancer, which he'd had, and he had it operated on and things like that. He had a bit of a tough life in the end. Very, very sad. But anyway, all goes out to him and his family. We would say our prayers and our thoughts, rather than just our thoughts with him and the family. Trump hits out with the 10% tariffs as US ignites global trade war. President pledges new golden age for America in combative address, which he gave last night. Netanyahu says Israel will divide up Gaza. We'll go into that more. And of course, our newspapers are not very favourable towards Israel. Surprise, surprise. But we stand up for Israel because we know the history.
Okay, let's have a look at the eye. Trump triggers $1 trillion global trade war in a threat to UK jobs and wages. Britain plans to use King Charles as apex weapon with Trump to soften the impact of the turmoil. White House sources say no one is pushing Musk out, as Trump allies say the world's richest man will step down soon following months of controversy and worry that he could be a liability. Global trade to suffer as nations plan retaliation, and UK growth predicted to fall to 0% next year.
But the truth of the matter is Elon Musk is only allowed so many days to play the role that he does because he's not an elected official.
Yeah.
So it's, of course, the press will twist it another way, as if Trump is trying to get rid of him. That's not the case. Yeah. He's only allowed that particular period, which is it 100 days or whatever it is. But anyway, the thing is that's coming to an end, so he won't be able to do the things that he wanted to continue. And he knew that from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, the Metro headlines, again, acknowledgement of Val Kilmer's passing. And then you've got Heathrow had 2 fire warnings, and the blame game is now going to start with that particular knowledge that's come to the fore, that I called them over the wire, and cable theft says airlines chief, yet electric forced total closure days later. Sorry, I can hardly read that, the writing on that.
Okay, let's have a look at the front page of the Mirror. World faces economic war, trading blows. Nations poised to retaliate as Trump reveals extent of tariffs. Britain hit with the lowest level of 10%, whilst EU is hammered at 20%. And
the Financial Times, the FT, the top of the page there, you've got TikTok talks, hopes boosted for US control. Many of you probably don't understand how dangerous TikTok is, especially affecting our young people who are on the phones and using TikTok all the time. It's mainly run, obviously, by China and probably could be used to damage our younger generation and to bend the minds and to mislead them. And of course, America is seeing all of this, and they are looking at being able to either stop it or own it. If they can stop the influence that it has the negative influence it's having on our younger generation, then that's a good move. But anyway, that's the top of the headlines there for the Finance Times. And the UK plan for joint European fund to help finance the continent's rearmaments. This is a plan where the gathering of the crowd who are the ones that are going to be helping Ukraine to fight the war against Putin, going to be looking at ways of creating more armaments, but benefiting at the same time between the European Union, and seems that Britain's involved in that as well, and because Keir Starmer is trying to make amends, as it were, and be very pally-wally with the EU, because he was definitely against Brexit. But therefore, what we see here is a way for them all to come together, helping each other and being on the front line, as it were, because they realise that America is no longer going to be paying the piper for the EU and also for the UK, because we need to man up and put the right amount of money into the pot, as it were, for NATO to be more controlled, if you like, or run by the EU, because this is the problem is right on our doorstep. And Donald Trump is a little bit cheesed off at having to pay the piper, and the highest paid to the piper in that sense. And the other thing is Trump signals the sale of his 2.3 billion stake in Truth Social. That's quite interesting. After Newsmax surge. Again, I don't know much about that, but maybe some of you do. But Donald Trump is basically a businessman, and that's the way. I watched a documentary on Netflix, Lesley, on Trump.
You did.
In his 20s, he was, the beginning of an entrepreneur in the making. Absolutely, it wasn't just because he had his dad's money or anything like that. He did some really interesting deals with New York State, who were in a bit of a state at the time. There was a lot of empty buildings and everything else, so he came up with a plan which that he was able to put into practice in his 20s, so good for him.
Well, Cynthia says it's all gobbledygook to me. So like everything else, things go up and down all the time. Plus we're robbed right, left and centre.
There you go.
She says the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. What seems to be happening in the UK is the rich can see their only chance of getting richer is to pack their bags and leave. So many. The Labour government didn't think that that many would leave, but I saw some statistics a couple of weeks ago, and I was quite surprised at how many of the richest are leaving. They're going to Qatar.
Absolutely.
They're going to Qatar. They're going to Dubai. Those are two of the hotspots. Quite a lot of actually
headed for Italy.
Okay,
I would say that was a bad move, because Italy and Spain are the two worst places to be doing business.
Surprises me. Yeah. Okay, here's a Billy Graham quote for all Christian nations. The Bible teaches that God will judge any nation that turns its back on him. We didn't have a scripture this morning, did we? We were so busy getting ready to talk about tariffs.
We were talking all the way through
until the opening music. Yes,
but I would actually say that a nation divided against itself, I'll keep hammering home this, will fall. And that was what we put on the buses back in the late 2018, 17, 19, whatever it is, before we had that horrible COVID.
Anyway, let me carry on with this. So the Bible teaches that God will judge any nation that turns its back on him, especially a nation like America, which has been given more privileges and opportunities than any nation in history. Jesus said, to whom much is given, much is required. Interesting one.
And the Lord actually did say that God is no man's debtor. For whatever we do, he will always, if you like, he will prosper them. He will pay back in that sense. But those are, it goes back to the Abrahamic situation, where in Genesis 12, I think it is, says that he who blesses Israel will be blessed. He who curses Israel will be cursed.
And people don't like that, to hear that. That's the thing. I mean,
but what it points out to me, apart from just how much God cares for Israel, not because all the individuals are perfect, but the covenant that he has with Israel, and for the benefit of Abraham, who was the one who had the faith that there was a God out there, and he was not prepared to put up with the idols and the false worshipping that was going on in Pandamaram, which was in northern Iraq, and he left home and he set off for the promised land, and God gave it to him, absolutely, and revealed all sorts of miracles and things like that.
I had someone phone the office a little while ago, and they were furious, absolutely furious, with Revelations TV stance regarding Israel, that we stand with Israel through thick and thin. This person was fuming. And I said to her, whether you like it or not, you can't actually take those scriptures out of the Bible. I said, you don't like the fact that those scriptures are in the Bible. I said, but you can't pick and choose. I said, no one can pick and choose. I said, so whether you like it or not, Israel is the apple of God's eye. I said, and that's the way it is. Oh, wow. I mean, she was shouting at me and
Well, Jesus came because the Phoenician woman, this is someone who was not from the nation, from Israel, he wasn't a Jew, was trying to get a miracle from him. And he said, I came for the lost sheep of Israel. That was his whole purpose initially, was to come for and to help his own people.
Yeah.
He was a Jew, okay? He wasn't a Palestinian. No such thing at that time.
Yeah.
So anyway, with Jesus actually setting the stage about Israel and the importance of Israel, of the Jews, was the fact also that he says this very interesting point. Even when I return, and he's yet to return, so we're talking 2,000 years since he was on the earth. When I return, not even the good news of the kingdom of God will have been preached to all of Israel. Actually says that. So Israel will still be standing at the time that Jesus comes back.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, Caroline says, as I see it, the globalists and the demonic New World Order would hate these tariffs as they want the world to be dependent on each other, as Barry Smith used to say.
That's a good point.
Is not Donald Trump disrupting this worldly way of doing things? He's passing many godly laws. What do you think, Howard, says Caroline? Christians need to understand the bigger biblical picture. Blessings and love.
Well, Barry Smith, an amazing man of God, actually prophesied and was called of God. He was a school teacher. He had this experience in, I think it was in New Zealand he was from. And the Lord basically gave him the job of actually declaring what God wanted to share about what was happening with the New World Order, talking about the interdependency that this New World Order was going to introduce. And they were changing certain countries from being used or being known for what they were good at producing. For example, New Zealand lamb. And the New World Order wanted that to stop and for them to become, I think it was something like forestry or whatever, totally different, because another country was given the permissions and the incentives to actually produce another product that the rest of the world would want. So this interdependency all depended on them all coming together in agreement. And what we see, and that's why I think the EU is so wrong, biblically speaking, apart from the fact they've adopted certain, if you like, iconic buildings and things like that, which are demonic, and they're picked up and quite happily want to join in that. So they identify with this New World Order, which is demonic. Anyway, so Barry Smith, I interviewed him so many times, and I've still got programs you've never seen on Revelation TV before, and I need to get around to editing. I do. I'm trying to do everything, Lesley.
You do.
But the writer there is saying the correct things, that this New World Order doesn't like Donald Trump for sure, because he's absolutely coming at it from a different point of view, and God will bless him. I know he will. But the woke societies and the one world new order people will hate him.
Okay, let's say good morning to you, Dennis. He says, it seems to me that those in America who buy our vehicles, Range Rovers, Rolls Royce, Aston Martins, etc., are probably the super rich, and they'll continue to buy them as cost is only a minor consideration to them.
Yep.
However, drugs and medication sales could well be affected unless they are given some form of exemption.
Yeah. We're talking which way?
Us exporting to America.
Yeah, America needs our GlaxoSmithKline or whatever it's called, drugs.
AstraZeneca.
AstraZeneca, as well. All of those Donald Trump's really appreciative of, and so, yeah. But we're the ones benefiting by exporting them to America, because they don't charge this value-added tax situation to the goods. They only charge the tariff.
Okay, Lynn says, I agree with you, Howard. Well done, Lynn. Now you're going to be his best friend for the rest of the day.
Lynn.
To me, it just makes sense. I think President Trump has been very fair regarding the tariffs. Why should the US taxpayer have to basically fund the rest of the world? He has exposed the relevant countries and also how previous US administrations have failed the US taxpayer. Needless to say, the MSM are typically anti. I also think your reasoning for their reaction is totally correct. Okay. By the way, you mean Mandy Johnson. Mandy Johnson was fab on our mornings yesterday. Oh, thank you. That's great.
Encouraging.
And she also was with you on the Late Show.
Yeah.
And maybe this evening, I don't know.
No, which you had to write to her and contact.
Oh, really? Okay.
Your busy schedule.
Mr. M says Israel should. So let's run over to Israel now. Israel should take over the whole of Gaza because it is continually open to terrorists. They could employ all the Palestinian people who will be happy to work for them. Okay.
Yeah. Well, whilst for anybody who missed last night's programme, we do have a little slate here which would actually ask you to go to our video on demand. So the Trump Tariffs, as it's called, on Revelation TV, was from the Late Show last night, and you can do that by actually going to video on demand on our website and downloading it or playing it on the fly.
Okay, Howard, while you're getting our first newspaper article ready, I just want to hold this little brochure up. If you receive our Times magazine, you would have got this brochure delivered to you inside the Our Times, but Gordon has written it, and it says, the BBC, God help us. And I mean, I've read it from cover to cover. It's only 10 pages or so. But it's really, the whole thing is, can we trust the BBC? And the idea came to Gordon because he actually watched the televised by the BBC, the programme, the documentary that was done on Gaza. And the insight into it, I mean, it's going to be an inquiry into this. But this is how he just started. He says, on Monday evening, February the 17th, Lorna and I sat down to watch a heavily promoted programme on BBC entitled Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone. It was billed as a film which captured powerful stories of resilience, loss and hope amid a dire and devastating humanitarian crisis in Gaza, as told by 4 young Palestinians who had endured the war. Anyone watching the programme would have had the same reaction as us. We had such sadness at the heartbreak, the suffering and devastation which shown in the film that the ordinary people of Gaza have gone through. But it then looks into the people behind it. I mean, the whole twisted way that it was portrayed.
But can I just say,
yes.
What was the title of the program? Is it something about land? The title of the documentary, because I watched it. It
was just called. It's just entitled Gaza. How to Survive a War Zone. That was the title of it. Yeah. But I mean, this brochure that Gordon has put together is so eye-opening. It really, really is. And he's looked deeply into it. And he actually ends, by saying that even Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne, who are TV stars, are amongst more than 200 leaders from the entertainment and business industries who have signed an open letter calling for a full investigation into the BBC's bias against Israel.
That's nothing new.
Yeah.
It's nothing new at all. And I've got to tell you, I'll say it again, when I've been up to the BBC to do interviews, sadly, it's mainly the Muslim that actually the ones that I had to deal with, and they weren't very nice to me at all. Of course, they knew what I would be putting forward as well. But, when you've got Muslims in charge of the Christian programming as well, that and that's been going on for years, does not make sense. Why not have a Christian as a Bible-believing Christian as well, that can be in charge of Christian programming. No, it is a Muslim. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
I mean, Gordon has quoted here, he says, the former Attorney General, Sir Michael Ellis, told members of Parliament in February 2024 that the relentless bias of BBC news coverage has contributed to the record levels of intimidation and attacks on British Jews. He says, I've come to the conclusion that the BBC is institutionally anti-Semitic, is what he declared. And Gordon says, here at Revelation TV, we believe that as the UK experiences a significant rise in anti-Semitism and British Jews feel their lives are in danger and are experiencing a hatred that they have not had in their lifetime, the BBC needs to accept that it is contributing to the atmosphere by its biased and highly emotive reporting. So what I want to say is, if you have received this and you would like extra copies to give to family and friends, we do have, we deliberately ordered a couple of hundred extra ones. Then if I tell you how much it actually costs us to put this together, and if you're able to donate a couple of pounds or whatever to cover costs, then we really would appreciate it.
So what did it cost to actually produce that?
It cost us 16p to actually produce this. It costs 80p for the postage, that's 96, and about 10p for the envelope, which is £1.06. So if you are able, no, that's the postage, 80p.
Okay, I got you.
Stamps.
Yeah.
So if you would like to donate a couple of pounds, then we can send you up to 3 copies. We've weighed the envelopes, and that's how many.
So it's just to cover the cost, really.
That's cover the cost,
get the information.
Or if you don't get the R Times and you're interested in this, it's absolutely fascinating, then do give us a ring on the office telephone number, which is there on the screen, 0208 972 1400. And we will be very happy to send them out. We only have 2 people working in the office today, so if you phone and your call is not answered, you'll know that they're busy on the phones. The office is always manned between 9 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. So
can I say, in fairness,
it's really very good.
In fairness to the BBC,
yes,
we know where they stand. Jeremy Boehm, I met him back in 1999 in Israel. Asked him if he would be part of a documentary I was doing, because he had a different viewpoint of the Jews and their right to be in the land, very pro-Palestinian. At least you know where they are. Jeremy declined my offer to interview him, but that was fair enough, You know where he stands, and he's still the Middle East reporter, or whatever you want to call him, for the BBC all these years later. I'm still pro-Israel because of the history and understanding that. It doesn't mean to say I don't understand or have a heart for the Palestinians, and especially today when they're suffering under the likes of Hamas. And thank God that a greater number of people, of the Palestinians, are saying, Hamas, get out, we don't want you. You're causing us to suffer because of your determination to be so against Israel.
Sure.
And anyway, having said that, what I'm trying to say is, likewise, we are very biased towards Israel, for the sake of Israel. So let not people come against us for being unbalanced. If you've got an unbalanced BBC, let the BBC stick to their guns and their points of view, but let us at Revelation TV also enjoy the freedom of speech, free speech, okay, so that we can counter each other.
But that is freedom of speech, because we're very happy to criticise the BBC for their bias, and so you're also very welcome, because all points of view do count. Okay, there you go. Last night's programme was brilliant, Howard, with you and Mandy. Thanks very much for that. Gail says, good morning, Lesley and Howard. Lovely to see you both this morning. Thank you. I've always liked Trump, and all my family like Trump. I believe the Lord is using him. May God be with you all at Revelation TV. I also just want to quickly say that Tim is on holiday this week. That's why there's a few of us standing in for him. He'll be back next week. So, did you find your piece?
Yes, I
that you're
did.
going to
The
cover?
Daily Mail, page 2, the eco-plant Drax, it's 869 million in subsidies while it's burned imported wood. And this is an incredible story. Another thing that really worries me about the government, actually using our taxpayers' money at a great cost. Listen to this. The controversial Drax power plant was handed 869 million in public subsidies last year. That's more than 2 million per day for burning forest biomass, which is this for wood burning plant in North Yorkshire, dubbed Britain's biggest green hoax by critics, has benefited from billions of pounds from the government over recent years due to the imported biomass, that's wood pellets, being treated as renewable fuel. The power station, a converted coal plant which generates 5% of the country's electricity, receives subsidies through the renewables obligation certificates and contracts for difference.
But the company, Howard, this company has reported record profits last year of almost £1.1 billion. I mean, I read this whole article.
Money.
I read it in the Times actually, and if you just listen to this, it says here that hang on, let me just find it. I had to read it twice. I didn't actually think, I couldn't believe
page 2 is
what
it?
I was reading.
Times.
Yeah, and it says, hang on, let me just see. It says the support which is needed because the station is not economically viable without green energy subsidies is equivalent, as you said, to more than £2 million a day. But there was something else I was actually reading about how useless it. Oh, here we go. It says that this wood burning, the burning wood is absorbed by newly planted trees, but it takes decades to be absorbed by these new trees, absolute decades.
So it'd be
they said the whole thing is a total waste of time.
Absolutely, because
so much money.
If we've only got till the mid-century that we're living in before the planet expires, because of all the foretelling of what we're doing with all of the with the things that we're putting into the atmosphere, this is all going to come far too late, what they're spending. So why don't they just stop it now?
Exactly. Exactly. I couldn't believe what I was reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Other things that you want that really are in the news. If we look at the rises in taxes and our bills that are going to go crazy this month, it says on page. Well, you got 2 articles in the Times if you want to look at your list.
Hang on a second, I'm just organising myself.
This list, darling, it's all pointed there. You need it out to be able to follow the. She needs a little bit of help, bless her. Okay, can you see this list, darling?
I can see the list very well.
So you go to the next one, bill rises and tax and everything. That's the subheading. So if you go to your Times 2, and you've got page there.
I've got it.
You know what I do, Les? I put a ring round the articles I read.
Okay. So do I.
Well done.
So do I.
Oh, you condescending thing.
So do I.
I'm talking to myself.
Excuse me. The average working household is set to be £400 worse off this year because of a free... Stop looking at me like that.
Oh, dear.
You look the other way.
It's a Mickey Mouse outfit we've got here because if you could see what we have to do with these newspapers.
I'm trying to read. I'm trying to read my article.
Go on, darling.
The average working household is set to be £400 worse off this year because of a freeze on the income tax threshold, higher national insurance on employers, a cocktail of utility bill increases and benefits rising by less than inflation despite the Chancellor's optimism. The Resolution Foundation think tank estimates that the 2025-26 tax year will herald the start of a 5-year period in which the disposable incomes of the poorest half of the workforce will fall by 3% in real terms. about £500 per household. And in a report released today, Happy New Tax Year, the left-leaning think tank describes the outlook for living standards as historically bleak. Now, what encouragement is that for hard-working families, Howard, who, are out there trying to make ends meet? I mean, it has a knock-on effect, doesn't it? Where they're working all the hours that they can. The children are being neglected, not because the parents want to neglect them, but because by the time they get home from work and there's everything else that has to be done, there's far more chance, certainly of the teenagers being in their bedrooms on social media, which hopefully we'll have a chance to cover. Young children who are not being read to, they don't read the parents are not reading them bedtime stories. But how can they, when they're working, and then how discouraging to find out that even with all of the working that's being done, they're going to be as much as £500 per household worst off.
Yeah.
There's
an article I'm going to read in a minute as well, which highlights the idiocies or the idiosyncrasies of our government and their taxation. But one of the things that really comes to the surface in this generation is, and we've talked about it before, your mum, dad, my mum and dad. The dad was the worker and mum brought up the children and had the time and everything and effort. But with the income that was coming in from the one worker in the family was in actual fact enough to be able to buy a home, to run the family, and to do all the things, maybe not to the degree that we do today, because I think we're rather spoilt compared to our generation.
Howard, you're saying your mum and dad and my mum and dad, but even when we got married and had our children, I didn't go out to work. Our children didn't go into nursery, and
I know, but you were able to bring the children up.
Was able to stay at home,
and we
whilst
had
you worked.
And also we fostered.
But that was a lot later.
But what I'm saying is, it was manageable. But here, look, the triple lock, on the pensions came into effect, and the Labour were actually saying, well, look at it, our pensioners have got £400 increase or whatever it is to keep up with inflation. But on the other hand, it cancelled out because all the increases that have come into play in April with all the new tax laws. And here on page 4 of the Daily Mail, under the title of Labour admits its special needs VAT grab was to boost revenues, and it admits them got it wrong, I think, is as good as saying. But here, this particular example here with schools having to pay VAT, private schools, is backfired because there isn't that 20% VAT on private school fees, which came in force in January, actually is backfired because some of the children have special needs that were looked after more in the private sector, but they now, many of the schools have had to close. Because their parents have not been able to afford to pay the VAT. Here you go again, this vulture added tax. Let me see the graphic. Vulture
Howard, you really like
tax.
that, don't you?
I do.
You came up with that idea last night. And you were so chuffed.
I am chuffed because it is. They've taken anywhere there's a little bit of life, the vultures are there with their value added tax. Okay.
Right, let me just say good morning to some more of you. Hi, Howard and Lesley. Glad to see you both looking well tanned and healthy. I mean, we were in Spain for a few days. We had lots of meetings, but over the weekend, we did actually get time to spend some time in the sun, which was absolutely fantastic. It's 27 degrees, wasn't it?
I never,
I said I couldn't remember the last time I saw you actually relaxing and sitting in the sun.
I had 2 hours on one day and 2 hours the next day.
It was really lovely, wasn't it?
And then we had work to do.
Well, that's okay.
But what I'm saying is,
it was great.
It's the first time I sat in the sun because I love the sun, but I hate sitting just in front of the sun.
Doing nothing. Yeah.
And doing nothing.
Howard, you worked so hard doing the morning show and the late show, which is so informative. Mandy was great on the two programmes. She really is. As for the BBC pamphlet by Gordon, it's brilliant. I read it and I left it at my newsstand as well as the Heart newspaper.
Wow.
Otherwise, I leave Christian reading material at the surgery, probably meaning the doctor's surgery. That's from Delaney. Thank you very much for that. BBC booklet by Gordon, brilliant. BBC are anti-Semitic. We should stop paying TV subscription. Well done, Gordon, and well done, Revelation TV. Dawn says, as you'll probably run out of extra copies of the BBC booklet, could you please consider putting it entirely on the website for more access to the truth for everyone? Very good idea. I shall speak to Luke about that.
It's freely available then for them to read.
Absolutely, for you to read. Yeah, very good. Ilona says, I live a couple of miles from the Drax power station. Thanks for the information. Once the train's brought in fuel from a modern pit, nothing like TG used to be, which is about 10 miles away, and now they bring in biomass from America at a great cost. Oh, got an email from Breeder. I do love Breeder. And I saw Breeder. Breeder and I went out whilst I was in Spain. We had a great time. How can 3 hours, how can 3 hours pass so quickly and we still didn't even get to chat about everything we wanted to chat about? Here we go. Good morning, Howard and Lesley, says Breeder, and all the Revelation TV viewers. I'd just like to say how much I'm enjoying our mornings. I look forward to your company every day. Love and blessings to you all, says Breeder. Oh, Breeder, it's great that you've emailed in. Fantastic. Oh, dear. Right. Are you ready for your...
Breeder and Jack do a programme, don't they?
Yes, Healing Word on a
When I met
Monday.
Jack the other day, he's so tall.
I know, I
And
couldn't believe
he's only
it.
like 17 or...
18.
He's 18 now.
Yeah.
Nearly 18 feet. My goodness.
Yeah. Right, where are you heading next?
America.
What I do also want to do.
I really like living in America.
I did as well.
Yeah. But the Lord had us come back to England
Yep.
to start Christian television.
Yep. There you go. I also, whilst you're looking for your next newspaper article, I've
got them.
I'm going to read just some parts of some of the letters that you have sent us. Oops. Who's this from? Elaine. I just wanted to say thank you to all at Revelation TV for the support you showed to Israel. There are not many voices these days who speak the truth concerning what is going on in the conflict. There will be no peace there whilst the hearts of so many are filled with hatred. No one seems to want to address the root cause of this and to speak out against it. We know that this is a spiritual battle. God bless you, and may your channel continue for many more years to come. Love and blessings from Elaine. And I've got a lovely card here.
Oh, can I just say, talking about Voices from Israel, that I did a series of programs called Voices from Israel, which is very, very good and very, very popular as well. So if you look up that on our web for video on demand, Voices from Israel.
Okay, I won't say the name actually because of the content, just because what she says is, the day God introduced Revelation TV to me, I started watching at 8 p.m. when my husband had already gone to bed. And I was glued to the screen until 1 in the morning. And I've watched it every night since.
Oh my goodness, how long ago was that?
I have found love and peace and joy. And I can get out of a dark situation quickly, thanks to the Holy Spirit. My life has now changed so much. And also I've changed my relationship with my husband has improved greatly, all thanks to the Lord and to Revelation TV. Okay.
Just the first name?
No, I'm not going to say that.
Okay. Anyway.
And also Gordon and Lorna, I feel like you are my friends and the Lord chose you as presenters so well. Thank you all at Revelation TV. God bless you and the viewers. It's really lovely. Let me look at one more, Howard, and then we'll go to another article. Yep. Having Hazel and Stuart say, having only discovered you a few months ago, we find your programme so informative and so enjoyable. And they are in Maidenhead. Thank you. Okay.
Well, what I'd like to do is cover the article in the Daily Mail, just jumping ahead a bit here to page 12 of the Daily Mail, Lesley, where it's talking about Israel and Gaza. Of course, the news that hits the headlines more is that it's always Israel getting into trouble when really they're after Hamas fighters that dress up. I know there's no proof in it, or they can't find proof at the moment, but Hamas has got to be annihilated, and Israel is absolutely gung-ho on doing that. And as I said earlier, when it started the program, that even some of the, I was going to say, the Palestinians themselves are saying they want Hamas to leave Gaza. They want them out because they are suffering because of Hamas's actual determination to see this is a terrorist organization, recognized as a terrorist organization by most people except BBC. But anyway, here, if you'd like to read that article.
It says, Israel yesterday vowed to seize large areas of Gaza in a major expansion of its military operations in the war-torn Palestinian territory. Defense Minister Israel Katz said the army would destroy and clear the area of terrorists and terrorist infrastructure. All land seized will be incorporated into Israel's Israeli security zones, he said. The campaign, aimed at forcing Hamas to release more hostages, will see Israel try to occupy 25% of Gaza within 3 weeks. If no new ceasefire deal is reached, the operation could displace most of the 2 million Palestinian civilians to a small humanitarian zone.
Yeah.
According,
I
go
was going to
ahead.
share that with you, darling.
Yeah.
That helps. Mr. Katz said, I call on the residents of Gaza to remove Hamas and return all the hostages. This is the only way that, to end the war. And Israel resumed intense bombing of Gaza on March the 18th before launching a new ground offense to actually get rid of, or to annihilate Hamas. There's going to be no peace at all until Hamas is actually removed entirely from the Gaza Strip, and that's what Israel is determined to do, because otherwise we're just doing something in the wind, and I can't say what you would be doing in the wind on Christian television. Okay,
let's say good morning to Patricia. It's quite a long one, actually. She says, I've been thinking about the selling of the Chagos Islands. Do you think that President Trump may have been fed up and disappointed with the British stance on selling the islands? He may have gone along with it just so that once the deal is done and Britain will have to pay for leasing it. President Trump may at that time buy it outright from Mauritius and take it over for America, ? Also, I have questions as to why the Labour Council of Birmingham, with what it appears to be the backing of the Labour Party, is allowed to fight so hard against the Unite Union. I would suggest that it is teaching Unite a lesson, because they came out immediately to go against the government to support the keeping of winter fuel payments when Labour first got into power. Labour would have a different stance if the Conservatives were in power. I think the Labour Party appears to be petty and vindictive in bringing the whole country down to the aspirations of the lowest denomination, be it in the workforce, capability or education. Just some thoughts about what might be going on, says Patricia.
Okay. I was hoping you'd just stop at the Chagos Island.
Okay, well, let's just
fine.
pretend I did.
Right. So if you got to go back in history to the Napoleonic era, where we actually won that particular battle as well against Napoleon, or against the French. Okay, and I think it was belonged to France, that Mauritius. I think it is the whole of that area with the Chagos Islands.
Right.
And when we won the Napoleonic War, we inherited the territory.
Right.
And what seems to have happened is Starmer, for some unknown reason, gave it back to the Mauritians, okay? But now is having to rent, as it were, or lease it back at a cost of X million, whatever it is, 9 million or 90 million a year. But over the years, it could amount to billions of pounds in costs for renting it. And yes, Trump was annoyed because it's a safeguard against China, having over there an Air Force base for both Americans' benefit and also for Europe's benefit as well. Because if China comes out against us all, we've got nowhere over that part of the world that we can fly from with modern aircraft. Yeah. And obviously, that was a bit of a mess up again by the Labour Party.
Okay, let's go to something entirely different. And if you are following this morning, this is the Times, page 8. Parents support a ban on smartphones at school. I would be the first one to sign that document to ban them. I didn't even know until recently that children were allowed to have smartphones in their possession in school, in their possession. Most schools let pupils Most schools let pupils bring in smartphones, a survey of parents found, contradicting the Prime Minister's claim that bans were almost universal. A Mumsnet, which is a sort of a group, it's a huge group of mums, a survey of 1,000 parents found that 64% said their children were allowed to keep their phones with them during the school day. Only 5% said their child's school banned phones from the premises, while 60% believed the government should outlaw the devices in school. Nearly half the parents, 48%, said their child's school allowed them to keep their phones so long as they were not seen or heard, and this failed to stop pupils using them. Only 1% of parents said the school should allow free use of the phones, but 15% said they should be allowed, that the children are allowed to have them at break times or for use in lessons, such as quizzes. I mean, if you're doing a class quiz, surely the whole idea of having a phone would mean that you could Google the answers. I mean, in pub quizzes nowadays, they say, please, for the sake of the fun of the quiz, don't get your phone out. If you don't know the answer, that's part of the fun of it.
I cannot believe that even if we had that technology when I was at school, we wouldn't be allowed to have anything that would distract us from
not at all
doing the lessons,
I mean, parents say, a lot of parents say, my child has to have their phone because I need to know what they're doing after school.
You put it in a locker. It has to go in.
Most schools do, but some schools say, don't even come to school with your smartphone. Don't even come. But how did we all manage? How did our children, before smartphones, manage without them?
Well, we weren't killing each other.
Well, I wouldn't say that it was pretty common.
If you're worried about your child, which you have every right to these days, because you could get stabbed, shot, raped or whatever, the kids today are feral.
Yeah, I know, but by having their smartphones with them on the way home from school, I'm not sure that would save their lives if they were stabbed. I actually don't think. And the other thing is, there'd be far less chance of them being robbed of their smartphone if they didn't have their smartphone.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
okay, I will look at the article on general politics, as it were. Page 2, Daily Mail. You've got Reform heads polls with Farage as Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Reform could win the most seats if a general election was called now. And Nigel Farage would be installed as Prime Minister. This is what the mega poll claims. Yeah, so it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of the young people are very, very much in favour of Nigel Farage. And Nigel Farage did say at the last elections, he said, we just came in too late this time. He said, but when the next general election comes, we will be leading the country. What do you think? Whilst you're putting your emails together, let me do a little bit of a catch-up. V says, regarding the BBC, which appears to be so anti-Israel and Christianity these days, I was appalled when I turned on my TV Monday evening this week, only to see the BBC televising a live Eid celebrity party. I believe that earlier on in the day there was an Eid live programme, and in the evening this celebrity Eid party with the well-known presenter being a Muslim himself. It made me very uncomfortable in my spirit. I couldn't help thinking, will they broadcast a live Easter Christian celebrity party celebration this Easter? I doubt it very much. A very sad sign of the times in this country. Christian programmes are rarely shown on the BBC, but rather pro-Islam, pro-Palestinian and everything else. But what this country was founded on, Christianity. God bless you. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Hi Howard and Lesley, thank you for this morning. You've cheered me up. You really make me laugh with your banter. You should come and move in with us. I love you both, says Brenda.
Honestly, you'd think we were enemies sometimes.
We're not enemies, we're not. But we do have our views. I mean, we don't always have the same views.
I respect that, Lesley, the fact you disagree with everything I say.
I don't disagree with everything you say. I disagree with things that you say that are not in line with what I'm thinking.
I know, exactly. And I sometimes say, well, how come we're living together? Yeah, it's good. Iron sharpens iron.
There you go. And we do
you're
get
an iron lady.
I'm not an iron lady.
Well, you're sharpening this blunt instrument.
Oh dear. You're looking very smart this morning, Howard. Blue and white suits. I said that actually to you, didn't I?
Well, I'm trying to get into shirts that used to fit me.
Now they fit you as long as you don't button them up.
Yeah, if I have a t-shirt underneath, I don't have to button them up. Otherwise, it's a bit tight.
And she says, Lesley, you always look nice. That's really nice. Thank you very much for that. Oh dear. Jackie says, good morning, Lesley and Howard. It's a treat tuning in as I'm working from home today. Lovely seeing the two of you. You're full of life. Keep the good work up, and may God grant you all the wisdom you need to continue this work. Whilst I'm reading the emails, you're supposed to be selecting the next article in the paper, and I can see you sitting there not doing it.
Well,
I keep glancing at you as I'm reading.
Yeah, there was something that triggered thought, and I think I'm just trying to remember what it was, but I think if I can quickly remember it, it was important that when you've got the likes, there's two articles in the paper I want to deal with. One is about the Darlington nurses. The other one is what was in yesterday's news, perhaps, was where you've got people getting into trouble, Christians who are silently praying near an abortion clinic, but they've got to be 150 meters away from an abortion clinic. Otherwise they get arrested. So my point is, would the same apply if there's a pro-Palestinian demonstration, that they are 150 meters away from any Jewish building, like a synagogue or a Jewish school, or a Jewish demo, if you like, as well, you know. So, you can't just have Christians having to be 150 meters away from wherever in case we could save a life of an unborn child, okay. I know there's other side to that particular understanding about why people have abortions. But what about being fair to others who are also demonstrating, who have a different viewpoint on life and everything, and I'm talking about the Muslim communities. When they go out, they are put in your face. Surely they've got to be 150 meters away from anyone who has a different opinion.
Okay, let's look a little bit more at this nurses' legal battle after they were told to share changing room with trans colleague. I know over the weeks we have been covering, but it says here, female nurses forced to share a changing room with a trans woman called Rose have launched a landmark legal battle with the NHS. The 8 nurses say that allowing a male-born colleague to use the women's facility at Darlington Memorial Hospital puts them at risk, deprives them of dignity and breaches their human rights. They claim that Rose Henderson, who was born male but now identifies as a woman, has stared at their breasts and lingered too long in the changing room, as well as repeatedly asking them whether they are getting changed. 7 of the 8 nurses appeared at a preliminary hearing at Newcastle Tribunal Centre yesterday. Their case was adjourned until October the 20th, whilst the NHS carries out an internal investigation.
Yeah, the judge or apparently the person looking into this case said it's a very difficult case. I can't see what's so difficult about it. The nurses have been complaining for a long time how this person who born male has changed gender, but is still very interested in the nurses dressing and undressing. And it's off-putting. Surely you can understand that. This is not being transphobic or whatever you want to call it. It's common sense. He's now saying that the legal man is saying it's going to take 4 weeks to do this and to actually have the hearing. 4 weeks. My goodness. It was set to do it over 3 weeks, but you know, I think the simplest a person could understand the dilemma the nurses are in. It must be so uncomfortable for them when they're being ogled by this man who's now changed his gender, who's still got his gender thingies there as well.
Okay, actually just changing the subject completely, what we're asking for is if you have themes for our series, The Bible Tells Me So, if you have any themes that you would like portrayed on our The Bible Tells Me So, please do write to info@revelationtv.com, or of course if you don't have the ability to do that, do phone the office, because I know that you really have enjoyed doing them, and we've already produced, well I haven't, our producers have already covered 50 themes, but if there's any maybe that you haven't seen or that you have ideas yourselves, please do let us know, because you know we need your help, we need more inspiration.
Can I give an input?
Please do.
Okay, I would suggest Proverbs. There's some great short proverb verses that are full of wisdom. Ecclesiastes and then Psalms.
But the themes are like hope, anxiety.
No, but I'm just saying, if you go through them, I wish I hadn't mentioned anything.
Proverbs is not a theme.
Okay. No, I know, but there are many things in there. Words of wisdom.
There you go, words of wisdom. That's
Proverbs.
a very good theme.
Ecclesiastes.
Words of
Psalms.
wisdom. Okay, not sure if you're aware that Hungary have welcomed a visit by Benjamin Netanyahu. They have rejected the ICC. Thank God for their friendship to Israel. Amen.
Who is that again?
Paul and Ruth.
No, but who was?
Hungary.
Hungary.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Mike says, I dislike doing nothing too. I always have to keep busy, otherwise I become bored very easily. There you go.
It's me.
Yeah, that's you.
I can't help it.
I quite like the opportunity to be bored. I'd like to be bored sometimes.
Well, you are. You play that. Leslie's got this game.
I've got this
could only
game on my
see her.
phone.
I was watching her. She looks like a child.
Never in 67 years have I ever played a game on my phone until I don't even know how I found it.
You just
It's
demonstrate.
called Twisted Tangles.
Yeah, you look like a twisted lady when you.
And it's supposed to be therapeutic, and it's not. It's not therapeutic at all.
But your faces that you pull.
I really like that game, but so when I've got time, actually, I kind of just think, I'm just going to play Twisted Tangles. Anyway,
my goodness!
These are Mike's
you look
suggestions.
Like a twisted lady.
These are Mike's suggestions. We should increase our US tariffs to 20%, because half of 20% is still 10%. Mm-hmm. Okay. He says, put the PDF version of the BBC booklet on your website to download, and our producer, I think, is our web manager is looking.
Is he? I didn't know we had a web manager.
Well, he looks after our website.
And other things as well.
No postage or... oh, no, that's not his only role.
There's never one job for anybody.
He's got about 30 hats, but when he puts that on our website, he'll be our web manager. No postage or packing of envelopes.
Oh, and the
Keep up
BBC just
smart
put up
work.
its rates, didn't they, for the licence? I mean, oh my goodness.
Esther says, hi Lesley and Howard, great programme. Just to say that years ago the Lord told me there will be a political earthquake in Parliament. God is sovereign.
Nation divided against itself will fall. But,
Okay, dear Howard and Lesley, regarding the use of mobile phones for children from school, they may need to call the police when attacked. Call an ambulance like
I'm sorry to laugh,
Yeah,
but that's the whole thing, isn't it? We're living in a society where you more or less got to have an alternative to carrying a weapon, and your weapon is to be able to call for somebody to come and rescue you as you bleed to death.
Call an ambulance like every vulnerable person and keep up with parents, etc. Let us not be too harsh on our children, but teach them the moderate use of our blessings. That's the thing, that it's like using our phones in moderation, or, I mean, nowadays, even when, you know, mothers are pushing their prams, or baby buggies as they call them these days, they're pushed, the baby or toddler is facing the mother. We used to talk to our children and smile at them and things, but the mother's pushing it along them, almost knocking into people, looking at their phone. I said, oh, they're talking away, but they're not talking to the child. They're talking to whoever they're talking to on the phone. I see it all the time. I thought, wow, how times have changed.
I was listening to a radio call-in program the other day when someone who was getting frustrated with the presenter of the radio show because he was saying to him, you know, I am concerned about the amount of crime that doesn't get the police's attention quick enough, or they're not bothered to come. And he said, I am thinking of carrying a weapon like a gun, you know, and why can't I, to protect myself and my family?
It'd probably be, if you had a gun in your pocket, someone would rob you of it and shoot you. Use it to shoot. Yeah.
But the thing is, you have got a problem here. What do you do?
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look. We're coming to the end of the programme, so let's have a look and see what is coming up next. So, God Day with Pastor Samson Jabutu. The message in the miracle is coming up on God Day, and then Pam will be joining you for Prayer Time Live at 12:30. The Bible tells me so, and the topic is sovereign, and that is at 1:30 this afternoon. Simon and guests will be joining you this evening at 8:30 for Politics Today. Isle of Man is leading the UK into moral and spiritual decline, and then Howard will and co-presenter will be joining you for The Late Show this evening. So
I'm not hearing anything on my earpiece, so I don't know where we are.
I think we've lost. Oh, it's okay. Oh, we've still got 2 minutes. Okay, we've still got 2 minutes.
Yeah, we were fighting.
Oh, we're doing really well. Yeah.
All right.
Can I read a couple more cards and letters? My envelope gets bigger. I don't. And
so it's a losing battle. A nice one.
Who's this? Susan. I'm writing to you all to say thank you so very much for your ministry of Revelation TV. I've watched it since 2010 after searching the channels for a Christian British TV station. I found you and I'm so thankful that I did. You've all been an answer to my prayers, and I cannot say thank you enough. What a blessing your TV station is. It's been a lifeline to me and still is. I watch it all the time and I love your programs. They're so enjoyable, informative and very encouraging. For me personally, Church Without Walls and Our Mornings are my favourites, and I'm the only Christian in my family and I feel part of your church family. Absolutely. I'm a pensioner, 72 years old, and I feel you are part of my family. I pray for you all. You are a godsend to me. May Revelation TV continue for many years to come, and may God continue to bless you in all you do for him. Thank you for your hard work that you continually do. I love to support you as a partner, will continue to do so. Your work is vital for reaching the lost in these difficult times we are now living in. God bless you. richly with love in Jesus from Susan. Oh, that's a really lovely one.
My goodness. But it just
finish
shows
on.
you,
Yeah.
what our viewers are getting out of Revelation TV's programs. And we're in the end of this program, Lesley. We've only got a few seconds left. But what I just want to say to encourage you to continue to pray for Revelation TV, and also for those who are in need and need to know Jesus. God bless you.